totally happy to be back. You know, wish it was a little warmer today, but not bad. We got sun out. Ball players are out here, and so, listen, we're going to be playing baseball, and that's great. So I'm excited. The fans are excited.
Steve, you've committed a significant amount to your payroll. You guys made another trade last night. What are your expectations, I guess, for this team, given what you've done and how much you've spent so far?
Listen, you know, it all looks good on paper. Hard to know, you know, what's going to happen in real life, right? So, you know, listen, I'm looking forward to a great season. I think we're going to be really competitive, and we'll see what happens.
Steve, it was pretty obvious by the end of these negotiations that you were being targeted in some way by your other owners with this fourth luxury tax threshold. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, I mean, you know, $290 million is a lot of money to spend overall. And so, you know, like I said before, I'm okay with it. And I'm willing to live with it, and we'll leave it at that.
Did you try to put up any protest against it?
You know, my view was, you know, we got to look at that agreement in its entirety. And like I said, $290 million to spend is a pretty big limit. And so, you know, listen, I got to live within the baseball confines, and I'm okay with it.
You think you'll go over it this year?
We'll probably will, and I wouldn't be surprised. And you know, hard to say how much.
When it first was suggested during the CBA talks, were you flattered? Were you offended? What was your initial reaction to a new fourth threshold?
Flattered. You know, listen, I'm still new to baseball, and so, you know, I mean, I know there's a name for it. They call it, you know, the Cohen tax, you know, whatever.
That's what Nimmo called it.
You know, that's what Nimmo called it. You know, the way I describe it's better than a bridge being named after you or something like that. So, listen, you know, like I said, you know, it's still a lot of money to spend on a payroll, and so I don't feel like it's so confining that I can't live with it.
I'm curious what you learned. You said you're sort of still new to baseball. What did you learn about the way it works going through the CBA negotiation process or watching that play out?
Yeah. Well, listen, I wasn't that involved with the negotiations. You know, I left that to the owners committee and the players committee. And listen, I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad that, you know, for the fans that we're playing baseball, right? We got 162 games to play, and that's great for the fans.
Is it challenging when there's such a wide swath of owners with different agendas and stuff to reach a consensus to present to players? What was that process like?
Listen, I mean, there's lots of different points of view, right? And to get everyone to agree on something, you know, but the owners were pretty, I would say, focused together, you know, and so, you know, I felt it would come to an agreement. You know, I felt pretty confident.
Steve, you mentioned the 162 games that we're back to baseball. Any concern at all, though, about some of the fans that say, you know, they're a little put off by the whole process the last 99 days?
Yeah, listen, I mean, you know, it's always best if it would have been less, and but it's over, right? And now we can focus on going forward and playing baseball. So we didn't lose any games, and I think that's all that matters.
Steve, when you first got here, you talked about winning a championship sooner rather than later. When you look at this roster, do you feel like this is a team that can do that for you?
Well, listen, winning a championship is only one team that wins. A lot of good teams out there. I think we're going to be really competitive, and who knows? We'll see what happens.
Steve, with deGrom's opt-out coming up, have there been any discussions about extending him, keeping him here?
Well, you know, at the appropriate time, you know, we're gonna play the season, and then we'll figure that out. And you know, Jake will do he'll do what he does. You know, we love Jake, and you know, we'll figure it out at some point.
Steve, you don't plan on second year owning the team, but you very clearly have changed the trajectory of the team's spending.
Yeah.
And I know money is not necessarily the only way to win, but do you think other owners in this sense are as committed to winning as you are?
Listen, I can't speak for them, okay? Like, I'm not in their minds. I can only speak for myself, and I'm highly committed to winning, highly committed to the fans, and that's what I focus on.
Steve, you have a feel yet for your new front office baseball operations and your new manager?
Yeah, you know, listen, it's a work in progress. Like, you know, Buck and I have just gotten to know each other, and I'm excited by Buck because he's so focused, he's so detail oriented, and so I feel like we're really covered there. And listen, like I said, this is a work in progress, and I like what we're doing here. I like what we're building on, and we're going to continue to build on that.
So when something like the Chris Bassitt trade is
Yeah.
made,
Yeah.
are you doing a real deep dive in the process that gets you, hey, we're not doing the free agency, we're doing the trade and we're picking this guy? Are you doing a deep dive in how they get there, and are you comfortable with how they're getting there?
Well, I got to tell you, the conversations yesterday, I was heavily involved, and I actually thought it was very productive how we went about that conversation and how it was all the important people that would opine on it got involved, and so I think we got to the right decision.
What was it about those talks that led to you being very involved?
Because they included me in the conversation, and ultimately the baseball people are going to make their decisions, right? And so, but it was very inclusive the way they included me, and we went over, sort of all different possibilities, and I think we all came to the same conclusion in the end.
Steve,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said you think you're going to go over the 290.
Yeah.
Have you put any limit on your payroll this year? Have you told them don't do something yet?
Listen, no one has an unlimited amount of money to spend, Joel, right? But
You're
ultimately,
probably closer than me.
right? Listen, at a certain point, I'm going to come to you and say, can you lend me a few dollars? All right, but listen, we're going to be careful at this point, right? I think after a few moves, I think we're going to feel like we are where we are, and then at that point, I think we'll have a team that we're comfortable with.
So just on that question again, is have you told them not to do anything yet because of
No,
money?
I have not told them not to do anything.
Steve, how involved were you in the Scherzer negotiations, and how important do you think that signing was to everything else you want to do here?
Well, listen, I mean, he's a great pitcher, and I definitely got involved. Okay, I mean, I think it was really important for Max to hear, my vision, and sort of, let him get to know me and sort of where I think the team was going, and so I got involved.
What's it been like with Max? You courted him, and then you couldn't talk to him, and he was on the other side.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Have you talked to him since the ratification, and what's that whole just vibe?
Yeah, I haven't seen him since. So I haven't talked to him. I'll probably see him today. Yeah.
Guys, we have time for a couple more.
How important is his winning pedigree for this team? Like, how is he going to rub off on everyone else in the clubhouse?
Well, listen, he's a fierce competitor, right? So, that type of stuff is contagious. And so that's the type of, feeling you want in the clubhouse, right? And Buck's the same way, right? So, that's the type of, you want that kind of competitiveness. And, that's one of the reasons why we signed him.
What do you think?
With
Last question, please.
With Max and bringing Bassitt here yesterday, I mean, there's so much talk now about the Mets could arguably have the best pitching rotation in the league. What are your thoughts and reaction to that talk?
Well, I don't know if it's the best, but I think that's a really powerful top three, and so when you look and say, okay, deGrom, Scherzer, Bassitt, 1, 2, 3, pretty exciting. So